What up, YouTube? Long time no see. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the rapper J. Cole and he allegedly hosting a party that excludes black women, or at least black women who cannot pass, quote unquote, the brown paper bag test. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I've been hearing about these sort of parties and clubs off and on here and there for a minute. And I'm getting really sick and tired of hearing about this type of buffoonery and this type of clownery coming from black men directed at black women. I don't like that. But I'm going to get more into that later in this video. But first, what I'm going to do is read an article that sort of breaks down and explains the situation right quick, and then go into my own commentary. And I first heard about this from the YouTuber Gossip Girl XOXO. So shout out to her. But let me get into this article, and this was posted on MediaTakeout.com. Do with that what you will. Here we go. So, a black woman reached out to us, MediaTakeout.com, to explain what happened to her when she attended J. Cole's party at the Toronto spot Mademoiselle. The party was to celebrate Cole leaving the Canadian Basketball League, the Canadian semi-pro basketball league he's been playing for over the past few months. Here's what she told us. Quote unquote, I was asked by a promoter to come last minute and bring girls, but I couldn't just bring along just any girl, he told me. They had to be quote unquote up to par looking in order to get through the door. I didn't have enough time to call all my friends, so I arrived alone and still got in. Although I was basically the only black girl in the party, I fit the quote-unquote look they were going for, if you know what I mean. The bouncers that were outside were very uncouth and rude. They were vetting girls who fit the description to come in and who didn't. During the party, I received so many dirty looks from these non-black girls and felt out of place. Drake and company were in their own section. I saw J. Cole wearing a simple black hoodie and jeans. J. Cole was also flirting and feeling on an Arab-looking girl in the corner, but left the party alone. And Media Takeout says it's not clear that J. Cole had any influence into who was allowed in the party. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But a lot of times I do see, black men will use that as an excuse. Particularly when it comes to casting, music videos or TV shows or movies. Oh, they didn't have any control over who got cast, right? Which in some cases it may be true, but other times I do think it's like a cop-out and just a way to avoid taking responsibility. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, this is just kind of like rumor, hearsay, blog stuff over the internet. It probably ain't true, And that could be very well true, but it was also rumor, hearsay about Chris Brown. It was also rumor, hearsay about Lil Wayne. But I believe those situations turned out to be true as well. And also, let's not act like this is something new. Let's not act like this is something that just is completely unfathomable or unimaginable. Like, really, this has been going on for years if you really look at, like, the music videos that these rappers be putting out. But let me get into my commentary at this point, though. So, again, what's with these no black women exoticals and non-black women only parties and clubs? Like, what's with these, like, dumb parties and clubs that do stuff like this? And I'm tired of hearing about black men. And I know that J. Cole, he is biracial, a biracial hobo looking mofo, but he does claim black. So I'll say that he is a black identified biracial who looks like a hobo. Yeah. But yeah, these dudes, they have like the nerve to host parties like these, right? That exclude women who are reflective of them, right? They're like direct female counterpart. But then wonder why society at large treats them like garbage and target practice. And also want to complain about the injustices that the black man experiences. You know, the black man got it so hard out here. The black man can't catch a break. Everybody trying to bring a brother down, right? Y'all making up stories about brothers. That's gonna be the first thing. Like, oh, it's not true. And then when it comes out that it is true, oh well, you know, it's a preference. You know how the song and dance goes by now. And again, when I think of these type of parties and these type of events and clubs and whatnot, you know, Chris Brown definitely comes to mind. But also that casting list for the movie Straight Outta Compton also comes to mind. You know, as well as Kanye West's fashion show casting call too. When he was looking for, you know, mixed women or biracial women or whatever, or exoticals. But for those of you who don't know, though, when it comes to that casting call for the Straight Outta Compton movie, right, the NWA biopic, they were casting for females and they had sort of like a tier list going. Like, you know, women who fit into tier A, women who fit into tier B, women who fit into tier C, women who fit into tier D. And the way that the tier list broke down was as follows. So the A girls, you know, tier list A, tier A girls, the hottest of the hot could be black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, or mixed race too. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, that's not that bad, you know? What's wrong with that? You know, it seems like they just, you know, equal opportunity. But it goes on though. Girls who fit into the B tier, as the company describes them, were fine girls, long hair, really nice bodies, small waist, nice hips. Skin color was limited to light skinned. Beyonce is the prototype here. Now, I find it interesting that they mentioned long natural hair, even though Beyonce wears weaves and wigs. Not saying that she doesn't have her own hair, you know, don't come after me, Beehive. But I'm just saying she wears weave and wigs too. But, you know, this is the prototype. All right. Tier C girls were described as African American girls, light to medium skin tone with a weave. D tier list girls, or, you know, D tier girls, were to be quote unquote African American girls, poor, not in shape, medium to dark skin tone. And that's what they were recruiting for as far as extras for the movie Straight Outta Compton. And I know some people gonna come through and be like, well, that wasn't their fault. That was the casting company. The casting company did that. They ain't had nothing to do with that. Well, for one, the casting company was hired by them or their people or somebody in relation to them, right? Also, as far as I know, nobody like, Ice Cube or, other prominent people involved in the movie never spoke out about it. This wound up, circulating across blogs, a lot of blogs. And it also made headlines in some more mainstream news outlets as well. But as far as I know, no prominent figure from the movie has ever answered or spoken out about that or against that. But should we be surprised? Again, look at the women in their music videos and as well look at the women in their life who they chose to be like their wives or baby mamas, girlfriends, what have you. But the thing is, though, very interesting to note here, these dudes who be involved in all of this effery, they make sure to get that black woman money, though. They make sure to get that brown skin and dark skinned black woman money, though, right? And they will let black women, especially brown skin and dark skinned black women, support them. And they'll never directly tell those black women not to support them. Black women, unfortunately, have to just wise up on their own. Since, they want the money and they know that black women are a good fan base to leech off of in this situation. A bit of a sidebar here. It relates back to this situation, though, a little bit. People speculate that Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey's relationship was basically a PR stunt. In part for Michael B. Jordan to appease his black female fan base. Again, that's speculation, of course, but I don't put it past these Hollywood folks. Let's be real. These Hollywood folks and folks who want to be in Hollywood, they'll do anything for a piece of change and a little bit of fame. But if it truly was a PR stunt, you notice that Michael B. Jordan, he did choose a more quote-unquote exotical looking black woman, right? But, I guess he had to make it believable. But wasn't he all like flirty with Lupita during the Black Panther promotional events? But I guess that was just promo. That was the part of the promo too, right? Flirt with Lupita, talk about, I love the chocolate, I sure do. Black on the berry, that's sweeter than juice. Yes, Lupita. But I haven't heard much about that since the Black Panther has come and gone. I guess maybe he got over his crush, his infatuation with Lupita once, the Black Panther promotional phase ended. I'm sure it's a coincidence. But back to these, no black women or at least no brown skin, dark skin black women parties, right? I have an interesting question I want to throw out there, and that is, are brown skin and dark skin black men, are they allowed in these parties? And they probably are, because I don't think that they are prevented or prohibited from attending these parties. But why? Why is it that they are allowed, but not the women who are reflective of them? Is it because they maybe have more money, they got fame, or they're just simply not a woman, so it's like, it's okay for them to be brown skin and dark skin, but it's not okay for the women to be? Like, is that what we dealing? Is that what we dealing with here? That's what we doing? No. But from what I've heard, it's not just like the famous ones. It's like the regular black dudes who want to get in the mix with this BS too. Yeah. But could you imagine if, black women, especially famous black women, hosted parties and club events that didn't allow, unambiguously brown skin and dark skinned black men in? Or even if they just attended one of those types of parties, like we wouldn't hear the end of it. Black women would be blamed for all the colorism ills in the black community, all the problems with the black man, and used as a scapegoat to justify their colorist and racist leanings and preferences. Y'all know the song and dance that they do. Like when black women kind of, slip up a little bit, they hype it up and act like it's just going on across the whole wide universe. Like, oh, it's just black women in mass doing this, right? And then they use that situation to justify whatever BS that they're doing. Like if they only date non-black women or white women specifically, it's like, this is why I don't deal with you black women. If they have colorist dating preferences, see, this why we don't deal with dark-skinned black women. They got attitudes. Basically, you know how it goes. It's either blame the black woman or blame the white man. And emphasis on, white man. As if white women do not follow right along with what the white man says to do and what the white man does. And also births, raises, and nurtures the white men into the men that they become. But that's another story. That's a little bit too deep for y'all. I know that's too deep for y'all. But I want to talk, I guess, a little bit about J. Cole for a minute, right? So J. Cole, from what I understand, he's from North Carolina, or at least was raised in North Carolina. So for me, that's a red flag right there as far as colorism is concerned. The Carolinas, both North and South Carolina, I feel like those are, hotbeds for colorism. I could be wrong. I've never lived there in any of those places, but from what I hear, those seem to be hotbeds when it comes to colorism. So, that has me a little worried. I did think that J. Cole was a bit more quote unquote woke and also conscious of, the black community and also conscious of, what black women go through, at least to a little extent, a little bit. But on the other hand, it could have just all been sort of like, oh, a little bit of just throwing black women a bone. Black women don't really ask for much, especially when it comes to black kings. And I know J. Cole is biracial, but he is black passing, black leaning, also, woke, quote unquote, conscious, quote unquote. So, they'll hoop de hoop, whoop de whoop, holla holla, but they have black king J. Cole as well. But, I thought J. Cole would probably be a little bit better than this, at least a little bit. But I know some people are come to his defense. Probably some people who are either his fans and just don't want it to be true because they really are just such a fan of his, which I can understand. If I heard something that was really terrible about, someone I, quote unquote, stand for, I probably would perhaps react similarly and hope that it's not true and try to defend them if I feel like there's some way to defend them or if something is worth defending about them. But again, some people are going to come to his defense for that reason, because they're his fans, or either because they just want to defend the colorist of it. And I know some people are going to come through and be like, well, it's not true. It's just a rumor, And it's like, well, that could be true. But, what's to say that it's not true? If this was a rumor about, say, Eve or Serena Williams or Jodie Turner-Smith, that was the equivalent of this, people would be jumping on it to disparage them. Those women involved, if, hypothetically, right? But people are going to come through and be all like, it ain't true. And it's like, well, present the receipts that it ain't true. Also, it's going to be all like, well, his mama white, and y'all be saying, oh, you need to get a woman like your mama. His mama white. His mama a white queen. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that J. Cole has a white mom. And the thing is, he can have a white mom but still let black women into his parties. I mean, that doesn't mean that he has to exclude black women from entering his parties. I mean, if that was the case, then black men who have black moms can only allow black women into their parties, and no one who doesn't look like their mom or have a phenotype like their mom can get into the party. Okay? But right, exactly. Like, you'd be like, well, what sense does that make? That's kind of weird. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of nonsensical. Right? Exactly. The next thing they're going to throw out as a defense is, oh, he married to a black queen. He married to a black woman. Well, leave that man alone. He married to a black queen. He got a black woman at home. Feel me? And the way that his wife looks, she seems to be, somewhat of an exotical herself, and that's perfectly fine. J. Cole, he is biracial and all that stuff, and he got a white mama and whatnot. So, it's just biracial and exotical folks getting together, right? But the thing is, don't pass this exotical black woman off as being an unambiguous typical brown skin to dark skin black woman, like the typical black woman. Just like we know what the typical black man looks like, we need to know what the typical black woman looks like. And please don't understand and misconstrue the word typical as being disparaging, because that's not what I'm trying to express. But it's more so just the usual black woman, like the black woman who is very visible in black communities. It's usually brown-skinned and dark-skinned black women. And the same for black men. It's usually brown-skinned and dark-skinned black men. And where I'm getting at is just basically don't use his wife, who is more or less an exotical herself, to say like, oh, he married a phenotypically unambiguous black woman. Because a lot of times folks would do that. Particularly black men would do that. They'll make 1,001 differentiations between these, the lighter skinned black women versus the darker skinned black women when it comes to these parties and these events. And who can get in and who can't, and who can be in their videos and their TV shows and their movies and stuff. Right? These black women are not interchangeable then, but when you need them to be interchangeable, so you can say, oh, you with a black queen, you with a black woman, all of a sudden you can interchange her and act like, oh, she's just the blackest of the black. Step back with that crap. Then another thing that they're going to bring up to defend this is, oh, it's a preference. It's just a preference. He can have a preference. Let that brother have his preference. Leave that brother alone. Remember his mama white? And let's not be ignorant. Let's not be simple. And also, more importantly, let's not be malicious when it comes to expressing our preferences. It's okay to have a preference. All right? It's okay. But why does it always seem like black men are expressing their preferences for, you know, lighter skin and non-black women in a malicious way? Because the thing is, J. Cole can have his preference, but that doesn't mean that he has to exclude, unambiguous black women from attending his party. Also, like, what if some of the party goers, particularly the male party goers, want to see unambiguous black women in the party? I mean, we do hear so much about these dudes talking about, they love themselves a chocolate queen, a dark chocolate black queen with natural hair, natural 4C hair texture too. Why not let those black women, enter the party for the men who may be looking for women who are like that? And then another thing they'll bring up to deflect from this and to defend this is like, oh, we got more important things to worry about. Well, then shut up and go worry about them. Like, don't be over here in my comment section on my video talking about, oh no, type. Leave J. Cole alone. Type. He's biracial. Type. His mama white. Type. He married to a black queen. Type. He can have a preference. Type. And then another thing they'll bring up is like, oh, it's your behavior, black woman. See, you don't know how to behave and act, so you can't be invited to nobody's party. And it's like, well, not to say that every single black woman is well behaved, because I won't say that's true. But that goes across the board, though. And that's, just across the board, both men and women, across racial classifications, across gender, just, across the board all together. And couldn't you just ban, the black women who just don't know how to act? It's not like every single black woman acts, quote unquote, unruly. And in fact, just ban unruly guests across the board, right? It's not, you're putting a personality, you're assigning a personality to like being black and female, which is, very ignorant and also like, dangerous in a way, because it promotes like negative stereotypes and perpetuates negative stereotypes about black women. But, one thing I do got to say when it comes to all this is just, and I hate to say this, but I just got to say it. Please, beware of the pro-blacks. Please beware of these pro-blacks out here. Cuidado con los pro-negros. Please, por favor. I hate to say it, but it's true. They almost always drop the ball when it comes to colorism. Basically, really, when it comes to just any issues that affect exclusively or even just primarily black women. And a bit of a sidebar I want to bring up right quick is something that happened a couple of years ago. Probably maybe just about 2 years ago, I guess. The rapper No Name, quote unquote, she tweeted something to the effect of rappers who profit off blackness while simultaneously being silent when it comes to Black death. And for some reason, J. Cole, who was not mentioned at all in that tweet, and I don't even think people were even thinking that tweet was even directed at him, jumped into the mix to, be Twitter gangsta with the rapper No Name. And to me, that kind of struck me as a bit weird. And also, you can Google this. This is well documented on the internet by now. But you do know what they say, right? A hit dog will holler. So I'm guessing J. Cole probably felt like he was hit by that comment for some reason. And again, I kind of thought the comment may have been directed more so towards perhaps like T.I. and rappers like him who kind of seem to be on this like, orchestrated fake conscious tip. But also just in general, like these rappers though, they've been calling in Black women and just women in general like disparaging names in their music for decades. Like, so should any of this really be a surprise when you really break it down? But Black women have been sort of taught to be all like, well, they ain't talking about me. They're talking about, the other women, not me. I'm a Black queen. Shoot, they treat me like they think I'm a Black queen out in these streets right here. And the thing is, when it comes to Black women, I think Black women definitely probably just need to really start being very selective about who they support. And I think that is happening. I think it's probably a bit of a slow process, but I do think that is starting to happen more and more. And I think when it comes to women, Black women and Black men, I think that sometimes feel like, them being a Black Kang people pleaser, a Black Kang pleaser, will put them on Black Kang's good sides and put them in Black Kang's good graces. So they often, pretty much just try to accommodate the Black Kang, right? But the thing is, though, oddly enough, like, you may think that being a people pleaser will put you on people's good side, but unfortunately, oftentimes an abundance or an overabundance of generosity usually has the opposite effect on people. Think about it. Nobody throws a parade for a doormat. Nobody celebrates a doormat. Nobody dedicates holidays to doormats. Nobody acknowledges doormats beyond the front or perhaps back door. So I'll bring this video to a close. I thank you very much for watching this video. Please let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.